Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Elise, and this is my mystical bookshelf. And today I have for you another non-Sarah Dessen book. I'm feeling like I'm in a little bit of a reading slump. I'm starting to read this free verse children's book. It's called Otter. That's not what this video is about, but that's the book I'm currently reading right now, and I'm still on the same page that I was the last time on my Sarah Dessen book. So I don't know if I'm in this mindset where it's like, if I know that I have to do it for something, then I don't want to. Does anyone else get like that? I feel like that's just a weird human thing. I don't know. It's like you have to do it for work or something. Like this is technically like a part-time type of work thing. But I just don't feel like reading Sarah Dessen right now. But I think I might try and crack into it tonight and see if I can finish it and maybe make another video for that book review series. But for this week's video, it is another Lana Harper book. It is called From Bad to Cursed. And are we surprised that I'm talking about Thistle Grove again? No, I don't think so. I feel like I'm a warrior for this book series. Like, this is it feels like my comfort book series. I don't know what it is, but the vibes in all of these books are just so perfect. They're so good. I feel like Lana Harper is a really great writer, and I appreciate her putting these books out into the world, because this is the second book in The Witches of Thistle Grove, and I am always wary about subsequent books in a series, because it's like the first book is a banger, but the other books are like, they're not as good. But with this one, I feel like Thistle Grove just keeps getting better and better. Like Payback's the Witch was perfection, and this book was also really good. And I don't know, something about it. It's just such a good book series. But this book, I've read it a couple of times. So I bought it when it first came out in 2021, probably. I don't remember when this book came out necessarily, but I bought it when it came out and I read it. And then, it says 2022. So I bought it in 2022. And then I think I can assume in 2023, I probably bought the Audible book credit version. And then I listened to it. So I read it once, I listened to it, and then I listened to it in the beginning of March because I was feeling like I was in a hardcore reading slump. And I don't know what to do sometimes with my Audible credit, because it's like I don't want to waste it on something that I don't like, because it's kind of difficult to return a book and receive your credit, because you have to contact support. Like, you can't just do it yourself sometimes. So I kind of have to be really picky with what I use my Audible credit on. So like, I didn't have anything queued up at work one day, and I was just like, I just want to listen to something that I know I'm gonna like, and I know that I like a lot. So I was like, scrolling through the books that I do own, and I was like, oh, I should just listen to From Bad to Cursed. I mean, it's March, it's about spring. Like, this book takes place in the spring. So the premise of this book is enemies to lovers, which I'm all about that. I love enemies to lovers. That's definitely one of my favorite book tropes. And it has to do with Isadora Avramov and Rowan Thorne. And Issa, that's her nickname. She is a super, like, hardcore badass, and I love her so much. She's a really great character to follow and listen to. She's super funny, she's super relatable, and I really enjoy getting to know the Avramov witch family more because they're very intriguing. Like, I like the Thorns too, but I feel like the Avramovs, they're where it's at. They're pretty cool. They're pretty chill family in terms of families too. They seem like they all are really cool and have chill vibes. And I love watching Issa and Rowan like navigate their relationship together, because in the beginning they're like do not like each other whatsoever. Like, Issa goes as far to say that Rowan is like her arch nemesis, which I think is super funny. And she like makes fun of him and teases him, but I feel like it's not really in a I don't like you sort of way. It feels like it's I don't know how to approach you kind of way. So I'm gonna tease you or make fun of you or act like I don't like you because I feel like you don't like me either. And that's kind of like how the relationship starts off. And they are put together because there's this curse that happens in the beginning of the book. So like this book takes place in the spring. I think it takes place near the end of April, the beginning of May. Like, so it's like for Beltane, that's the holiday that they celebrate in this book is Beltane. So I think it has to do with like rebirth and spring and stuff like that. I'm not really sure. I'm not really familiar, but it goes through in great detail all the great things about that. And it's got great spring vibes. It really makes you feel like it makes you want to go outside and like listen to the breeze and just breathe in the fresh air and sit in the sun. It's such a good book. It just makes me feel very warm when I read it. Like, it makes me feel like this is peak spring, like the nice weather, the smell of flowers in the air. So that's kind of like the vibes of the book, and it's perfect to read when you're feeling like, when you're not feeling it. Like, this is a perfect book that got me out of a reading slump. Like, it helped me remember why I enjoy reading, essentially. That's kind of what a reading slump, I like forget why I like reading, because sometimes reading feels very chore-like. So listening to something that doesn't feel like a chore, it is very uplifting. So the book takes place, and we start off with they're picking the Mayday Queen. That's like, they call it Mayday, Beltane type of thing. I think that's interchangeable names in the book. So they're picking the Mayday Queen, and the queen is normally a Thistlegrove witch. Or, of course it's a Thistlegrove witch, that's where they are. It's normally a Thorn family witch, and Holly is the one who is auditioning when this like first point of contention takes place, and she is like doing this magical spell where she turns her, I think she's turning into a tree, and for some reason there's this curse that is pointed towards her, I think on accident. That's how it makes it seem. Like, it doesn't necessarily, not necessarily going towards her, but it ends up at her. So then it damages her and her magic, so she can't do magic for the rest of the book. And that's kind of sad, because I think she was the front runner for being the Thistlegrove Beltane queen. So, and all the families are like, why did this happen? How did this happen? And they kind of commune together and are like, well, we don't know who did it, but they think that everyone thinks it's the Avramovs, because the Thorns and the Avramovs, as a family, like as families, traditionally don't like each other. It's not just Rowan and Issa. I think both the families as a whole, they think of each other as mortal enemies because they're on opposite sides of the magical spectrum. Which is very interesting, because then you have the Thorns, who are like green magic and flowers and all this warm stuff, and then you have the Avramovs, who are like dark magic and death and all that dark stuff. So you can imagine that, yeah, they don't have the same vibes, but like doesn't necessarily mean they have to dislike each other. So that's kind of like what the premise of the whole book is too, is breaking those prejudices between the Thorns and the Avramovs. So to keep everything unbiased, Issa and Rowan are paired together to figure out why this curse is happening. And it's only during times when all the families are together and they're doing their Beltane celebration type stuff, which I think is weird. I thought that was weird. But so we go through Rowan and Issa's relationship and we figure out why they always never liked each other. They knew each other for a long time ago, like when Issa was 18 and Rowan was 22, I think. So they have like a 4-year age difference, but they first started to not like each other when they both worked at an animal shelter and Rowan was like getting on Issa about doing everything. And Issa didn't understand why he was being so mean to her. And she was being a teenager. It just, you take everything so personally. So I can understand why she would think that Rowan hates her and like why she would be upset with him because he was kind of an asshole to her. And she was just trying to do the best that she could at this animal shelter. So that's where it all began. And then we fast forward 7 years later. So now Issa's 25 and Rowan would be 29. And they kind of are like delving back into their relationship. And they're like, well, they realized it was all a big misunderstanding between them. Because Rowan was like, well, I was just trying to do what was best for the animals. And you were a very angsty teenager and she didn't really understand all that went into the animal shelter. So Issa kind of understands where Rowan was coming from with the animals. So it was nice to see them like become understanding of each other. That was the main premise of this, is for the Thorns and the Avramovs to throw aside their prejudices against one another and realize that just because you do green magic and I do dark magic doesn't mean that we have to dislike each other. It just means we have different talents, like we have different abilities, and neither is bad. Both are good for all of Thistle Grove. So that was kind of interesting to go through. And so we end up, this is like a plot twist. It didn't end up being anybody who was alive as an Avramov. It ended up being one of their ancestors who ended up possessing Talia. So like at the end of Payback's the Witch, Talia is the champion, and well, technically Talia is the champion, but she had to hand it over to Emmy because Talia got possessed by a whole bunch of different demons and shades and bad spirits and stuff. So where the curse comes from is the ancestor that got trapped inside of Talia at the end of that possession. So like they exorcised her of everyone, or so they thought, but it seemed like this ancestor, I can't remember her name, but that's not surprising. I feel like I read this book so many times and I'm just like, I can never remember anybody's name no matter how much I like the book. So I don't get it. I really don't. I'm trying to see if I can look in the book and see if I can find the name. I think it might be Margarita. That might be the name of their heir, like the first heir for them, not a Valentina. Oh my gosh, Valentina, that's her name. So Margarita is like the town founder of the Avramovs, and Valentina was Margarita's sister. And Valentina had this like whole big grudge against the Thorns, and that's kind of where the point of contention happened with the Thorns and the Avramovs, because of Valentina and all of her strife towards the founder of Thistle Grove with the Thorn family. So that's where it all began. And so Valentina had been festering inside of Talia, and she kind of had this resurgence during Beltane. So we end up figuring out that it was Valentina possessing Talia this whole time, and that's who was causing this curse. And it wasn't even meant to be for Holly. It was meant to be for Rowan, because Rowan bears a striking resemblance to the Thistlegrove Thorn founder, Alistair. And Valentina has held this grudge for like 300 years. So it's kind of crazy that she held on to it for so long, even in the afterlife. So I thought that was weird. But yeah, so she wanted to demolish Rowan, not necessarily Holly. But in the end, I think we figured out that it didn't matter if it was Rowan truly. I think it was Valentina just wanted a thorn for a thorn. It didn't matter which thorn it was in the end. So that's how we figured that out. And then Rowan and Issa, their relationship comes to a pass, and they realize that they like each other, and they've grown really close together during this investigation. And they realize that just because they're different doesn't mean they can't like each other. So seeing their relationship unfold is really beautiful. And seeing them put aside their prejudices as the family, as their family names, like, it's just really sweet to watch. And one thing that I really enjoyed about this book, not only was the breaking of the prejudices between the Thorns and the Avramovs, but it was also anxiety representation. That was really good. That was a really good thing in this book too. Like, Issa suffers from anxiety, and it was really nice representation from her because she goes through it alone, and she hadn't had a panic attack in a while. And I think the thing that triggered her, another point in her story, not just being with Rowan, but another point in her story was that she didn't want to work for her family anymore, and I think that's what triggered her anxious feelings. So, because there's so much pressure on her, and during this Beltane season, there's always a haunted house brought on by the Avramovs, and she's the one who's always in charge of it. And in the beginning of the story, before all the Mayday Beltane stuff happens, she's thinking that she wants to run her own fashion line and fashion company. And she's afraid to tell her mom about it because she's really close with her mom, but she feels like her mom would think she's betraying her by not wanting to work for the family. And I've noticed in the Thistlegrove series that your family name is really, really important in this world. So, like, being an Avramov is really important, and like holding on to that line of the bloodline and stuff is really important in this book series. So Issa is like contending with that along with trying to figure out the curse thing. And there's one scene where she's with Rowan, and it's after they talk to Rowan's little sister, and she sees that his little sister does her own jewelry outside of the Thorn family. And I think it builds up something inside of Issa because she ends up having like a panic attack, and I really enjoyed the way that Lana Harper described it because it felt really real, like reading it, because I have suffered from many panic attacks in my life. And reading it, it was like, wow, that's exactly how it feels normally. Like, you have to get out, you have to go someplace quiet, you have to do this alone, you have to go somewhere where you can just breathe and not be with anybody. Because that's kind of like how I handle my anxiety too, and I think that's why I relate with Issa so much, is because I too have this thing where I have to like internalize it and not let anybody see that I'm struggling with this. But she ends up like jumping out of the car in the scene and going to this clearing, and it's like pouring down rain, and she's like soaked, and Rowan ends up following her, and she doesn't understand why he's being so understanding and nice to her, because this is how I think the relationship really started to turn, is when he helps her overcome this panic attack, which I thought was super sweet. Like, it was a really good part in the story. It was sort of in the middle of the book, but I think that's when their relationship started to turn towards being more romantic rather than just like tolerating each other. So that was super cool to read. And I just really like the way that Lana totally encapsulated that feeling of when someone is going through something like that, because it's so relatable. And I was reading it the first time and I was like, wow, that's totally how that feels. And listening to it too, it's like, wow, that's definitely how it feels. Like, the narrator of the book did a great job during that scene. And it was just nice that Rowan had come to help Issa, even though he still was on the fence about how he felt about her. So I thought that was a really cool moment for both of them. And it was one of my favorite parts of the book, I will say. And in the end, after they figure out that Valentina had possessed Talia, and that whole thing is like put to bed, and I think Valentina gets obliterated by a demon eater, I'm pretty sure. So that was kind of interesting. But then Issa ends up telling her mom that no, she doesn't want to be a part of the Avramov family, like, business anymore, and it's not as bad as she thought it was going to be. So that is a nice end to the book, and I just really enjoyed the character development between Issa and Rowan. You really see them grow together as a couple, and I just love the trope of opposites attract, enemies to lovers. It was very well done, and this is the perfect book to read during spring. And if you feel like you're feeling kind of blah, this has the great vibes because the scenery is beautiful. Lana Harper does a great job explaining like all the flowers that grow in Thistle Grove around this time. And there's like this special wine that they drink, and it's interesting to read the descriptions about that because it really made me want some like spring summer wine. Because I only drink wine during fall, but there's some really nice spring wines too, so I should probably try some of those. But, so yeah, the vibes in this book are great, and this is one of my favorite Thistle Grove books for sure. There's always a Thistle Grove book for every season, I've noticed. Like, Payback's a Witch is perfect to read for October and Halloween, and From Bad to Cursed is perfect to read during April or March, April, that type of thing. And then Back in a Spell is perfect for winter. And In Charm's Way, I have read that book once. I need to listen to it because I would like to own all the physical copies and own the audio copies too, because I've noticed that reading or listening to audiobooks is very immersive for me. It feels very theatrical. It's almost like listening to a play or a TV show or a movie, and it feels so immersive, and I just enjoy listening to the narrators bring these characters to life because it's really perfect. And so, like, In Charm's Way, I think it takes place in the heart of summer, so I'm gonna have to get that and listen to it and make a video like in June or July for the summer vibes, because that definitely feels like a summer book. And then the last book, Rise and Divine, I think it takes place in September, so it's kind of like just before peak fall vibes, but it has really nice fall vibes still. But yeah, I just love this book series, and I don't think I'm ever gonna get tired of talking about it. So I hope you enjoyed this video because I enjoyed making it. And as I've said in previous videos, if you have any suggestions for me as to what you would like me to do next, I will gladly take them because I want to make content that all of you enjoy as well as me. So thank you, and I will see you in the next video. So goodbye, friends.